There are places in modern Japan where the past is not just remembered, but trapped. Welcome to Ghosts of Asia, where forgotten whispers echo through the neon glow, and the spirits of old Tokyo still walk beside us, unseen. Tonight, we bring you a tale that slips between reflection and reality, a story of teenage curiosity, digital obsession, and something far older than both. When a high school student in Tokyo accidentally films a ghost at 3:33 a.m., he thinks it's just a glitch, just a rumor, just a TikTok joke. But some voices don't fade, some secrets don't die. And when the camera rolls at the wrong hour, you may capture something that never wanted to be forgotten. This is the story of Naoya and the voice he should have never heard. This is her voice at 3:33. In the heart of Tokyo's Nerima ward, where convenience stores glow through the night and vending machines hum like lullabies, 17-year-old Naoya Tanaka sat cross-legged on his futon, phone in hand, editing a TikTok video he didn't even think was funny. It was 3:20 a.m. Outside, the city had quieted. The last trains were long gone. His parents were asleep across the hall, and in his dim bedroom, lit only by the soft bluish hue of his screen, Naoya sliced together clips from earlier that day, a stupid joke about the basement at school being haunted. He'd filmed it on impulse, laughing with friends during lunch. The joke had been trending online. Your school probably has a girl who died in the basement. So he made his own version. Classic urban legend bait. Nothing serious. He even added that cringy voice effect at the end. "I'm still down here." He snorted, dragging the audio track over the final frame. And that's when it happened. His screen flickered. Just for a second, a strange blur. A corrupted frame, like static, had crept into the front-facing camera. He thought it was just bad lighting or a rendering hiccup. But when he rewound it and paused, there was someone, standing behind him in the window reflection. His breath caught in his throat. He was alone in his room. He knew that. But in the reflection of the glass behind him, framed by the moonlight, was a girl. She was wearing a soaked school uniform, the traditional white and blue sailor fuku. Her long black hair clung wetly to her shoulders. Her arms hung lifelessly at her sides. Her head was tilted unnaturally, as though her neck had been gently snapped, and her eyes completely white. He blinked, then hit play again. It glitched the same way, exactly at 3:33 a.m. according to the timestamp. She was there for only 2 frames, barely noticeable unless you scrubbed frame by frame. He swallowed hard. Then he did what any rational teenager would do at that hour. He laughed. "Nah, no way," he whispered to himself, heart pounding. "Just compression artifacts." But still, he backed away from the window and pulled the curtains shut. The video finished exporting. He considered deleting it, but curiosity and clout were louder than fear. He uploaded the clip to his private draft folder, intending to show it to his friends the next day. Maybe they'd help him debunk it. Satisfied, sort of, he plugged in his charger and tossed his pillow onto his bed. But as he slid beneath his blanket, his ears caught something strange. A whisper. He sat up fast, listened. Nothing. But the whisper had sounded inside his headphones, not in the room. He replayed the exported video, this time with the volume turned way up. The distorted voice filter still played, "I'm still down here," but underneath it, buried beneath the sound layers and static, was another voice, a real one, breathy, strained, female. "Tell them I'm still in the basement." He ripped off his headphones. The silence that followed was deafening. His eyes scanned the dark room. Curtains drawn, door closed, lights off, fan spinning softly overhead. He tried to laugh again, but this time it caught in his throat like glass. The next morning, school was a blur. Autumn leaves were falling across the campus courtyard, and students shuffled through the corridors with sleepy grins and half-zipped jackets. Naya found himself staring at the basement door near the old music room, the one always chained shut. He'd walked past it for 2 years and never noticed the thick padlock before. "Yo, you good?" asked Hiroto, his best friend, sliding up beside him. "Yeah, just tired." "You were editing that dumb ghost video last night, weren't you? Did you post it?" "Drafted it," Naya muttered, then paused. "Actually, do you know any stories about our school's basement?" Hiroto raised an eyebrow. "What, the Misaki rumors?" Naya looked up sharply. "Misaki? You never heard of Misaki-san? They say a student died down there decades ago, during a fire. Art storage caught flame and she couldn't get out. Some say they never found the body. Creepy, right?" Naya's skin prickled. "I thought that was just internet rumor," he said. "Probably is," Hiroto shrugged. "I mean, no one really talks about it. The teachers pretend nothing happened. Typical cover-up." Naya didn't answer. He kept staring at the chained door. That night, Naya didn't plan to stay up, but he did. By 3 a.m., his eyes were glued to the same video over and over. He amplified the audio in a different app, stripped away layers, cleaned the hiss, and there it was again, that whisper. "Tell them I'm still in the basement." His alarm clock blinked, 3:31 a.m. He turned off the sound, checked the window, nothing. Then his phone buzzed. A notification, voicemail received. He froze. No call, no missed number, just voicemail. He tapped to play. At first, static, then wet breathing, like someone was just inches from the mic, and then the voice. "Don't let them lock me down here again." He flung the phone across the bed. It hit the wall and landed face down on the carpet. His heart thundered in his ears. After a minute, he crawled over and picked it up. No number, no metadata, just received at 3:33 a.m. He didn't sleep that night. At school, he didn't speak. He didn't need to. People noticed. "You look like you saw a ghost," Ayaka said, a girl from his class. He didn't laugh, just asked softly, "Who was Misaki?" Ayaka's face changed. She looked around, then lowered her voice. "No one really knows, just stories. My sister said she was a second year who liked to sculpt, stayed late every day in the art basement. Then the fire happened. But what? They said they saw her after, weeks after, standing at the gates, but burnt and soaked." Naya stared at her. "Wet?" Ayaka nodded, like she came back from the fire, through water. That night, Naya checked the window reflection again, and this time, he didn't just see the girl. He saw his own eyes, completely white. Naoya didn't speak to anyone the next morning. Not during homeroom, not during lunch, not even when Hiroto tried to crack jokes about how he looked like a character in a horror manga. He just sat there, scrolling through his phone, watching that same video over and over again. Every time the glitch came at 3:33 a.m., every time she was standing behind him, pale, drenched, head tilted. Every time the whisper, layered beneath the voice filter, said exactly the same thing. "Tell them I'm still in the basement." He had to know more. He needed to know who she was. During lunch, He slipped away to the library. The school's library was quiet, the kind of quiet that settles into your bones, dusty and sunlit, with walls lined in old volumes no one touched anymore. He approached the reference desk, where an elderly librarian named Mrs. Fujimoto sat reading a tattered book of haikus. "Excuse me," Naoya said, his voice soft. "Do we have old school yearbooks? Like from the 90s? She looked up slowly, adjusting her glasses. "Why?" "I'm doing a project on the school history." She eyed him for a beat longer than was comfortable, then stood and disappeared into the archive section. When she returned, she carried 3 thick volumes, 1993, 1994, and 1995. "These are all we have left from that era. Some volumes were lost in the fire." Naoya felt a chill crawl up his spine. He sat at the far table, opened the 1994 edition, and began flipping through. Classes, clubs, field trips. Nothing unusual. Then, in the art club section, one photo was missing. Just a blank square, edges jagged as if someone had torn it out. Beneath it, the caption still remained. Misaki Arai, 2nd year, sculpture and mixed media. His blood turned to ice. There it was, a name, Misaki. No photo, no other mention, just the name and the absence. He opened the other yearbooks. Nothing. No graduation photo, no club activity the next year, no in memoriam page. He checked the index for her name. Nothing. As though she'd never existed. That night, he tried to search online. Misaki Arai, fire, Nerima, private school. Girl dies in art room, Tokyo. Student death covered up. Nothing. No news reports, no social media mentions. It was like the internet had swallowed her whole. Frustrated, he typed her name into a genealogy website. No public records found. Then his screen flickered. The cursor moved on its own. A chat window opened. No contacts, just unknown. A message appeared, typed slowly. "She's not in the records because they erased her." Naoya's fingers trembled over the keyboard. He typed, "Who are you?" No reply. The window closed itself. A second later, his phone buzzed, another voicemail. Received 3:33 a.m. He pressed play, heart pounding. A voice, breathy, female. Not the same whisper. This one was clearer, almost pleading. "Your teacher lied." Then static, then silence. The next morning, Naoya asked his homeroom teacher, Mr. Yamada, about the basement. He phrased it casually, like a joke. "Hey, sensei, what's with that chained-up door near the music room?" Mr. Yamada barely looked up from his papers. "Storage, off limits." "Wasn't there a fire? Like decades ago?" The teacher froze, just for a second. Then, "No, that's just a rumor. Don't waste your time on ghost stories." "But someone said—" "There was no fire," he interrupted sharply now. "No one died. Don't talk about this again." Naoya's mouth dried. The other students stared. Mr. Yamada didn't look at him again for the rest of the day. That afternoon, Hiroto cornered him by the vending machines. "Dude, you've been acting seriously weird." Naoya didn't answer. "You're still thinking about that ghost video, aren't you?" Naoya hesitated, then said, "I found her name." Hiroto blinked. "Wait, for real?" "Misaki Arai, 2nd year, art club. She's in the 1994 yearbook, sort of, but her photo's missing. There's nothing else. No records, no news mentions, like she was erased." Hiroto frowned. "Dude, that's... I think someone tried to cover it up." "Okay, That's creepy, but why would they erase someone like that? Naoya looked down at his phone. Because they locked her in the basement and let her die. That night, he set an alarm for 3:32 a.m. He wanted to be awake, just in case. The alarm buzzed. He sat up with his phone in hand, watched the seconds tick by. 3:33 a.m. Nothing. No call, no voicemail. He felt disappointed, oddly, like he'd missed something. Then his Bluetooth speaker, off since the weekend, crackled to life. No music, just static. And through the static, the same voice, louder this time. The door opens with a song. He stared at it, frozen. The speaker fell silent, then shut off on its own. His phone buzzed again. Voicemail received, 3:33 a.m. This one was even clearer. Find the anthem. Backwards. That's how they sealed it. His hands were shaking as he typed into Google. Private school anthem, Nerima, Tokyo, MP3. Nothing. But then he remembered the yearbook. He flipped back to the index. There it was, a section called Musical Traditions. On the page, sheet music and a QR code to the school's anthem archive. He scanned it. A dusty old recording played solemn piano and chorus, the same melody he'd heard in his dream last week. His breath caught. He downloaded the file, opened his audio editor, and reversed it. The melody warped into something haunting. The vocals bled backward like a choir trying to scream. In the middle of the reversed track, he heard her voice again, clear, unmistakable. Don't let them forget me. Back at school, Naoya walked past the chained-up basement door again. It looked the same, but when he passed by with the reversed anthem playing softly through his headphones, he heard something move. A soft click, like metal shifting, like a lock losing tension. He pulled off his headphones. Silence. But when he leaned in, he swore he could hear breathing from the other side. Slow, wet, shallow. In the reflection of the nearby window, he saw his own face, and behind him, her. Just for a second, just enough to know she was waiting. Naoya didn't go to school the next day. He faked a sore throat. His mother barely looked up from her phone. She was used to his quiet moods. But this wasn't just a mood. This was fear. And it was growing. He locked his bedroom door, drew the curtains, and sat cross-legged on the floor with headphones on, phone in hand, laptop open beside him. On screen, the same video, the one he had now watched 64 times. She was always there, every time. In the reflection of the window behind him, blurry but unmistakable, soaked uniform, pale face, head tilted, white eyes. Only visible for 2 frames, and only at 3:33 a.m. But it wasn't just the image anymore. It was the messages. Each night for the past 3 days, he'd received one voicemail. Exactly 3:33 a.m. No ringtone, no caller ID, no trace. And each one was clearer than the last. The most recent had been last night. Find the anthem, backward. That's how they sealed it. Naoya had reversed the school anthem, just as instructed, and hidden beneath the warped music, he'd heard the faint whisper, "Don't let them forget me." He didn't know who they were, but now he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched, even in his own room. Not from outside, not from the door, from the mirror. That afternoon, he decided to dig deeper. He turned to old internet forums, not Reddit, older. Japanese language sites from the early 2000s still running in forgotten corners of the web. He searched for keywords: Masaki Arai, school basement fire, Nerima, ghost anthem, Tokyo. Nothing definitive. But in a thread called Urban Myths That Got Too Real, someone had posted years ago, "We had a girl in our school. She died in the art basement. They said she's still there. They sealed it with the school song played in reverse. I thought it was fake until my friend started getting voicemails every night at 3:33 a.m. He stopped answering. Then he transferred. I never saw him again." Naoya stared at the username, @backdoor33. He checked the account. Deleted. No posts since 2007. He tried replying anyway. No response. But his phone buzzed immediately afterward. New voicemail. Received 3:33 p.m. That was new. The first message not at night. He played it. No static this time. Just her voice, calm but shaking. "You opened the melody. Now open the door." Then click. Like a latch unlocking. Naoya's head snapped toward his bedroom door. It was still shut, but his closet, he hadn't touched it, was now ajar. And inside, the mirror on the back wall was fogged over, like someone had breathed on it from the inside. At school the next morning, he noticed two things. First, the basement door was still chained, but the lock was missing. Second, someone had drawn something on the wall next to it. At first glance, it looked like graffiti, but on closer inspection, it was a face, carved into the paint with something sharp. A girl's face, blank-eyed, hair soaked, mouth open as if mid-scream. Underneath, written in English, "Remember me." No one else seemed to notice. Or worse, no one reacted at all. At lunch, Hiroto found him in the library again. "You really need to stop watching that video, man. You look like you haven't slept in a week." Naoya didn't reply. "I'm serious. You've got that look, the same one Sora had before she left school." Naoya turned sharply. "What? You remember Sora from Class B? She used to hang out with Ayaka. She got obsessed with some old rumor about the art basement, kept asking questions, started hearing voices, apparently. What happened to her?" "She transferred last semester. Her parents said she needed a change of environment. But Ayaka told me Sora said she kept getting messages, voicemails. She never answered." Naoya's mouth went dry. He reached into his bag, pulled out his phone, and played the newest voicemail for Hiroto. The voice was unmistakably female, soft, pleading. "You opened the melody. Now open the door." Hiroto stared at the screen. "Oh, dude, that sounds real." Naoya nodded. "I didn't make this up." "Why is she talking to you?" Naoya lowered his voice. "Because I filmed her." That night he received two voicemails. The first at the usual time, 3:33 a.m. It was shorter than before. Just a whisper. "Your teacher lied." The second came 5 minutes later. That had never happened before. He hesitated, then played it. "The sculpture room isn't what it seems. Look under the clay." He stared at the screen, and then it hit him. The art room, the sculptures. He remembered walking past them every week, clay busts of students, faces smiling or neutral, displayed proudly in the glass cases outside the old art hall. But some had faces twisted in strange expressions: terror, shock, pain. He had thought they were abstract, symbolic. Now he wasn't so sure. The next day, during his free period, Naoya snuck into the art wing. The hallway was silent. He walked past the display cases, stopping in front of one of the older busts, a girl's head, mouth slightly open, eyes wide in fear. He checked the label, Untitled, 1994. His stomach flipped. He looked around. No teachers, no cameras, no students. He reached up and touched the edge of the clay. Soft, not hardened like he expected. Still damp, right? He pressed gently. The outer layer crumbled, and inside, something shiny. He dug a little deeper with his fingers, ignoring the pounding in his chest. Inside the clay was a tooth. He stumbled back, nearly knocking over the entire display. A shadow moved behind him. He spun around, heart pounding. No one. But in the reflection of the glass case, behind his own silhouette, a girl stood at the far end of the hallway, soaked uniform, head tilted, white eyes. She raised one arm, slowly, pointing toward the stairs that led down. Naoya turned to look. Nothing was there. When he looked back at the glass, she was gone. That night, Naoya didn't sleep. He sat at his desk, listening to the reversed school anthem on loop, trying to decode the whispering voice that flickered through the track like radio static. And at 3:33 a.m., the message came again. This time, she sounded closer. Not distant, not ethereal. Closer. As if she were whispering into his ear. They locked me in the dark. I screamed. They heard me. They did nothing. A pause. You heard me too, and you're still watching. Then, silence. But for a second longer than the message, something else remained. The sound of breathing. Wet, heavy, labored, right next to him. He turned slowly toward his mirror. Nothing. But on the glass, faintly written in moisture, "Remember me."
Naoya didn't tell anyone about the tooth. He didn't tell the teachers. He didn't tell Hiroto. He didn't even tell Ayaka, who had started watching him now with a mix of concern and quiet fear. Some things, once seen, once felt, they don't leave you. They follow you. And Naoya was beginning to realize Misaki Arai wasn't haunting the school. She was haunting him. It started with the mirrors, not just at home, at school too. Any surface that could reflect, windows, metal panels, even puddles, he kept catching glimpses of her. Not always full-bodied, sometimes just a sliver of white cloth, a corner of a face, a dark, wet strand of hair, but always behind him, always watching. Once, in the boys' restroom, he leaned forward to wash his face. When he looked up, she was standing in the stall behind him, door wide open. His scream echoed through the tiled walls. By the time someone rushed in, she was gone. His teachers called his parents, concerned, said he wasn't eating, that he was jittery, talking to himself. His parents blamed the phone, the internet, TikTok, sleep deprivation. But Naoya knew better. He wasn't imagining her, because every night at exactly 3:33 a.m., she called. And now she was saying more. Your teacher lied. The clay hides more than faces. There were others before you. The door opens with a song. He played the reversed anthem again, over and over. There were more voices hidden in it now, layers, whispers rising like steam, some overlapping, some distinct. But one voice always pierced through. Hers. And every night, her tone became less pleading and more demanding. One message made him stop breathing for nearly a minute. He watched me burn. No, you paused the track. Who? He whispered into the silence. The next day, he stayed behind after school, waited until the campus emptied. Then he returned to the basement hallway. The chain door was still there, but loosely latched now. The padlock dangled, its shackle broken, as if corroded from the inside. He pulled it open. The old door creaked on its rusted hinges, and there, dim and cold, was the stairwell, descending into shadow. It smelled of mildew, ash, and something faintly metallic. He turned on his phone flashlight and stepped down. The staircase twisted deep, much deeper than expected. 15, 20 steps. Each one groaned under his weight. At the bottom, he found a thick iron door, painted the same pale beige as the school walls, and on the center, painted in red ink, now faded, was a symbol. A circle with 3 slashes running through it, like claw marks, or a sun crossed out. Beneath it, in Japanese kanji, wasureru na, do not forget. He reached for the handle. Locked, of course. He tried playing the reversed anthem on speaker. Nothing. But then, he remembered the voicemail. The door opens with a song. Not just plays, a song. Hummed, sung, remembered. He steadied his breath and hummed the reversed melody from memory. His voice trembled, but he followed the strange tune perfectly. At the final note, he heard a soft click. The door creaked open, and there, dim and cold, was the art basement. Lights long dead. But his phone flashlight caught the outlines. Desks, sculpting tools, crates of clay, and in the center, pedestals, sculptures. Dozens of them. But these weren't projects. They weren't abstract art. They were faces, full busts, each one meticulously carved, each one screaming. Eyes wide, mouths open, hands raised in frozen terror. The clay looked aged, cracked, some even crumbling. But the detail, the emotion, was unbearable. No, you walked between them, heart racing. Then he saw it, a nameplate under one of the statues. Sora Kubo, Class 2B. His breath hitched. That was the girl Hiroto mentioned, the one who transferred. He looked at the bust again. It wasn't just a likeness, it was her. Down to the mole near her jaw, the curve of her hairline. He turned to the next. Daisuke Morita, Class 3A. The next, Amy Tanabe, Class 1C. Faces he recognized, students who had vanished, transferred, gone, forgotten, all immortalized here, in fear. He took a step back. His shoe hit something soft. He turned around. At the far wall, slumped in the corner, was a school uniform. Soaked, molded to the floor like it had been submerged for decades. Above it, written in red clay across the wall, "You filmed me. You remembered me. Now they will remember too." Naoya's phone buzzed violently. New voicemail. 3:33 a.m. He didn't check the time, didn't need to. The screen glitched as he hit play. The voice was right against his ear. "Now you've seen them. You've seen what they made of me. You heard me scream. So did they. But they left me here. You're the first to listen. Then silence, then a final whisper. "That's why you'll stay." Behind him, a sculpture stood on a fresh pedestal, still wet, still forming. He stepped closer. His flashlight shook. It was a bust of him, eyes wide, mouth open, mid-scream. He turned around, and she was there, closer than she'd ever been. Water dripped from her fingers. Her hair hung like seaweed. Her face was pale clay, unfinished, shifting, and she smiled. Not kindly, not sadly, but like someone who had waited too long to be remembered.
Noya didn't remember running, only the sound of his own footsteps pounding up the basement stairs, only the sensation of cold breath chasing him from behind, only the silence that followed once he slammed the basement door shut, his back pressed against it, the faint echo of her whisper still curling in his ears. "You'll stay." But he didn't. Not yet. He didn't sleep that night. Instead, he sat in bed, bathed in the dull glow of his laptop screen, dragging the reversed school anthem into his audio editor again. He slowed it down, layered the last voicemail on top, then reversed that too. What emerged was not music. It was chanting, and beneath it, her voice, clearer than it had ever been. Not a whisper, a statement. "They sealed me with a lie. They called it tradition. They made me a ghost with a song." Noya leaned forward. He replayed the middle section again. This time, he isolated the frequencies. Hidden under the melody was a word repeated 3 times. Wasureruna, wasureruna. Do not forget. The next morning, he returned to school early, too early. Even the security guard hadn't started his rounds. He walked the quiet corridors alone, past the music room, past the old art wing, back to the basement door, still unchained, still slightly open. He didn't go down. Not yet. Instead, he entered the music room and sat at the piano. It was dusty. One leg was wobbly. The keys were slightly out of tune. But he played. Not the anthem forward, not backward. He played the reversed melody in real time, note by note, carefully, as if each key pressed down on memory itself. And as he played, something shifted. The air, the light, the mirror on the wall behind him fogged over slowly, as if someone on the other side was exhaling long and deep. He stopped. The fog cleared on its own, and in the mirror, he saw her. Not a glitch, not a ghost. A girl, seated on the piano bench beside him, her head tilted toward him just slightly. No scream, no blood, no threat, just eyes that had been forgotten too long. Later that day, Hiroto cornered him again. "Where the hell have you been, man?" Noya didn't answer. "You disappeared after lunch yesterday, then you weren't in class. Everyone's talking." He stared past him, eyes distant. "She was locked down there." Hiroto blinked. "What?" "In the basement. That room, it's full of sculptures, students, real ones." Hiroto shook his head. "That's not possible." Noya looked up. "I saw your name on one." The words were a lie, but Hiroto went pale anyway. Noya knew he was alone in this now. No one else would believe him. No one else would listen.
just like they hadn't listened to her. He spent the evening in his room again, looping the reversed anthem. And that's when it began. The glitching. Not just in the music, on his phone, on his laptop, on his TV. Images would flicker in for a frame or two, then vanish. A classroom, sculptures, a girl standing motionless in the back. Sometimes his own face appeared mid-scream, distorted by static. And always the timestamp, 3:33 a.m. Then came the auto posts. It started with TikTok. His draft of the original Ghost video, never published, was suddenly live on his account. Caption, "She's still in the basement." He hadn't posted it. Then a second video, just black screen. Audio, the reversed anthem playing softly with a breathy voice over it whispering, "You heard me. They didn't." It had 143 views in 1 hour, then 9,000, then 30,000. Comments flooded in. "Bro, what is this? I heard her whisper my name. Nope, not watching this at 3 a.m. Is this RNG or real? I saw her face in the window. It changed the next time I watched it. There's someone behind you." The algorithm had caught her. Or maybe she had caught the algorithm. He tried to delete the posts. They reappeared. He deleted the app. It reinstalled itself. His screen blinked and glitched with every attempt to disconnect. Every device was infected, every reflection distorted. He unplugged his TV. It turned on by itself at 3:33 a.m. A still image on the screen. Him, sitting at his desk, mouth open, screaming. Behind him, she stood, her hand on his shoulder, looking into the camera. He ran to the bathroom, turned on the sink, splashed cold water on his face, looked up at the mirror. Her face was pressed against the glass, from inside. Her mouth moved. "You played the song. You opened the door. Now show them what they left behind." The next night, his account posted again. This time without his phone, without his consent. A video of the art basement, filmed shakily. Sculptures in the dark, faces twisted, shadows moving. The camera panned slowly to a pedestal in the center of the room. A new bust, his own, frozen in horror. The video ended with the reversed anthem and the caption, "Remember me." Over 100,000 views in 24 hours. Hundreds of comments, duets, stitches, reaction videos. People thought it was a hoax, a horror project, a viral campaign. But those who watched the full clip, especially at 3:33 a.m., started reporting strange things. "I heard something in my room after watching. My lights flickered. My mirror fogged over and something wrote Wasureruna on it. I deleted the app and it came back. I dreamed about a classroom full of statues and one of them was me. Who is Misaki?" Noya stood alone in the school stairwell, listening to the echo of his own breath. He couldn't stop it now. He had opened the melody. He had broken the seal. He had remembered her. And now, so had they. But he knew it wasn't over, because every night, without fail, his phone rang. No ringtone, just a voicemail, always from no number, always received at 3:33 a.m. And tonight, when he played it, it was the longest yet. She spoke in a clear, steady voice. No more static, no more distortion. They called it a blessing, the anthem, a tradition to honor those who came before. but they buried me in song, played it backward to lock me in clay, to make me forgettable. You broke the silence. You'll never forget me now. A pause, and then, slowly, and they will never forgive you.
They didn't talk about the missing students, not officially, not on school bulletin boards, not in morning assemblies, not in emails from the administration. But Naoya started to notice the gaps. Desks that used to be occupied, names suddenly removed from class lists, group photos blurred, half the people gone without explanation. And no one else seemed to question it. Not the teachers, not the students, as if they had been forgotten on purpose, as if Masaki was erasing them one by one. That week, he asked Hiroto a question during lunch. "Do you remember Yuka from Class 1C? Hiroto blinked. "Who?" "Yuka. Long black hair, always wore green headphones, sat near the window." His friend stared at him for a moment, then shook his head. "Sorry, man, I don't think that person exists." Naoya's stomach dropped. He opened his phone, pulled up an old class video, a field trip, cherry blossoms, April. He paused it at the group photo. There, standing on the left, Yuka, green headphones, smiling, looking directly at the camera. He said, "Look," turning the phone toward Hiroto. But Hiroto just squinted. "There's no one there." Naoya looked again. The spot where she stood, empty. The space looked normal. Trees, sunlight, shadows. No evidence that anyone had ever been in the frame. He scrolled back further. Same photo, same video. Now, Yuka was gone. That night, his phone auto-posted again. He hadn't touched it. It uploaded a 15-second video to his TikTok. It showed his school's second-floor hallway, empty at first, then flickering, then a sudden cut, a jump to the same hallway, but dimmer, the windows dark, and one of the lockers swinging open. Inside, a school bag, a girl's ID tag visible for just one frame. Naoya paused the clip, zoomed in. Yuka Hirose, Class 1C. The video ended with a distorted voice saying, "No one remembers who screams." He tried to delete the post. The app glitched. He opened it again. The post had doubled, now with 20,000 views. The comments section exploded with confusion. "Why does this feel real? Anyone else feel weird after watching? I heard a voice say my name when I played it. Who is Yuka? Why can't I find her TikTok anymore?" He opened his contact list, searched for Yuka. Gone. Not just blocked, not just deleted, erased. Even from his memory folder, even from his Google history, even from the school website. She had vanished like she'd never existed at all. At 3:33 a.m., the voicemail came again. This time, it began with humming, soft, off-key. The inverse school anthem sung slowly, like a lullaby out of tune. Then her voice, calm and deliberate. "I didn't disappear. They made me disappear. And now they do it again. To anyone who listens, to anyone who cares." A pause, then colder. "Do you still care?" Naoya spent the next day researching everything he could. The school, the basement, local news, city archives. Still nothing. But in a niche ghost forum, he found an obscure post from 10 years ago. It was titled, "The Sculpture's Basement,
Tokyo school legend. The user claimed, "My cousin went to a private school in Nerima. She was investigating a rumor about sculptures that looked like missing students. She said the school had an underground art room that no one was allowed to enter. She found it one night, said she heard breathing behind the statues. The next day, she didn't come to school. Her name was wiped from the roster a week later. We still have a photo of her at home, but the school says she never existed." Naoya messaged the user. No reply. Their account hadn't been active in years. After school, he confronted his homeroom teacher again. "Mr. Yamada." It was raining outside. The classroom was empty. Naoya stood by the window while the teacher packed up. "I want to talk about Misaki Arai." The man froze. "I found her name in the old yearbook. I found the art room. I've seen the sculptures." Naoya continued. The man froze. "You need to stop digging." "Why? Because it's true?" Yamada's expression changed. Not anger, not fear, guilt. "She wasn't supposed to stay. We were told to evacuate. We thought she was gone already." Naoya stepped forward. "She wasn't." Yamada nodded. "I know." Then, without warning, the lights in the classroom flickered. Outside, thunder rumbled, and in the reflection of the window, behind Mr. Yamada, Misaki was standing, dripping wet, head tilted, arms limp. Yamada didn't turn, didn't blink. He just whispered, "I still hear her voice at night," and left the room. That night, another voicemail came, but this one was different. It was not from Misaki. It was from another voice. Male, shaky, raspy, like someone terrified. He played it over and over, trying to make out the words. Eventually, he isolated the audio. The voice was saying, "She showed me my own statue. I screamed, but the clay was already wet. Don't look into the mirror." Then it cut off. Naoya turned to his window. The glass had fogged again. A new message appeared slowly, as if it were being written from the other side. "There are more." He knew what he had to do. He had to go back to the basement, back to the sculptures, back to her, but not alone. The next morning, Ayaka stopped him in the hallway. Her eyes were red, like she hadn't slept. "You've been seeing her too, haven't you?" she whispered. Naoya froze. Ayaka nodded. "I saw my friend's face in one of your videos. I saw her. She transferred 2 months ago." Naoya didn't answer. Ayaka leaned in closer. "She didn't transfer. She disappeared, and now I can't find any trace of her." She held up her phone. The same video had appeared on her feed without following him. It was spreading. Naoya nodded slowly. "She doesn't want to be forgotten," he whispered. Ayaka said nothing, but her hand trembled. Naoya no longer knew what was real. He no longer trusted his phone, no longer trusted reflections, no longer trusted time. Because the moment you let a ghost into your feed, she doesn't leave. She loops. She replays herself again and again and again. That night, he checked his account again. Not just one video, not just 2. Now there were dozens, all auto-uploaded, all posted at 3:33 a.m., all captioned in strange, broken phrases. They covered her in clay. "She knows who watches. We are sculpted in fear. I told you not to forget me." They were short, 10 to 20 seconds each, but each one was more disturbing than the last. Blurry footage of hallways that glitched when paused, sculptures slowly shifting expressions, the basement door opening frame by frame, and her face in mirrors, in windows, in the camera itself. The algorithm loved it. Her pain became viral. Her memory became entertainment. The views exploded. 300K, 900K, 1.2 million. Duets flooded in, so did remixes. Some viewers tried to debunk the videos. Some tried to summon her. Some claimed they saw something standing behind them in their reaction videos. One user stitched a clip at 3:33 a.m. laughing until his voice cut out, until his screen split in two, until his mouth moved silently while a whisper bled into the audio. "You heard me. Now they will too." Comments spiraled. Why does her face keep changing? I saw my own house in one clip. My mirror broke after watching this. It posted to my account too, without permission. Who the F is Misaki and why is she everywhere? Naoya watched it unfold like an infection. The ghost wasn't appearing anymore. She was transmitting. He began to notice a pattern. Every video uploaded at 3:33 a.m. contained hidden layers, not just the reversed anthem, but fragments of whispers embedded in the audio data, like coded messages stitched in the silence. He imported one into his editing software, slowed it, isolated frequencies, played it backwards. One phrase emerged again and again. "My name was carved in fire. I became clay. They called it tradition, but tradition is just cruelty dressed in silence." Ayaka came to his house that evening. Pale, eyes red, her hand trembling slightly. "I tried deleting the video, the one that showed my friend's name," she said quietly. Naoya nodded. "I tried deleting the video too. It comes back." She looked down. "It uploaded to my account last night." He didn't ask how. He already knew. She sat across from him in his bedroom, surrounded by the blue light of screens and speakers, everything flickering like static waiting to speak. "We need to stop it," she whispered. Naoya said nothing. He didn't know how. Misaki had gone beyond the basement. She was in the wires now, the code, the feed. She was a memory with an internet connection. And no one could forget her anymore because she refused to be forgotten. At 3:33 a.m., another voicemail. This one came live. No audio file, no number. Just his phone speaker turning on by itself, projecting her voice into the room. Ayaka heard it too. They froze, listened. No music this time, just a breathy, cold whisper. "Do you remember how I screamed? Do you remember how they covered my mouth with clay? Do you remember how no one came? Now they watch, now they scroll, now they click, now they scream, just like I did." Then silence. Then the soft sound of a girl crying. Not theatrical, not ghostly, just human, just heartbroken. Naoya's phone buzzed again. Notification, new video posted. He hadn't touched anything. Ayaka looked over his shoulder. The clip was only 6 seconds. A shot of Naoya's bedroom from the outside of his window. He played it. In the footage, he and Ayaka sat exactly where they were sitting now, but behind them, Misaki stood, her face inches from the glass, watching. Naoya turned to the real window, empty. But as the fog began to form,
Words wrote themselves across the glass. Now they all see. The next day, students began disappearing again. Not physically, digitally. Their profiles vanished. Group photos adjusted themselves. Entire memories were edited out of chat histories. Ayaka watched in real time as one of her friends' name disappeared from their class group chat mid-sentence. And still, no one noticed. Except her. Except Naoya. And Misaki. One final video posted that night. It was different. A static shot of the school basement door now wide open, flickering lights inside. The caption, "Tonight we finish the sculpture." Naoya's phone lit up. So did Ayaka's. Voicemail received, 3:33 a.m. They didn't play it. They didn't need to. They already knew what it would say.
The school was never silent. Even at night, when the halls were empty and the lights were off, there was always something. A hum, a creak, a distant echo of footsteps that didn't belong to anyone. Naoya learned this the hard way, because on the night the final video posted, he didn't go home. He stayed. He told his parents he had a group project, that he'd be at Hiroto's. He packed his bag, brought a flashlight, headphones, and the original yearbook, the one with Misaki's torn-out photo. And when the school emptied, when the teachers filed out, when the last key clicked in the front gate lock, Naoya remained, hiding in the cleaning supply closet near the art wing, breathing slowly, waiting. Ayaka had agreed to come too, but only under one condition. If I see her, if she touches me, I'm leaving. Naoya didn't argue. He wouldn't have blamed her. By 10:45 p.m., the hallways were black. The school no longer felt like a school. It felt like a memory. Old paint, cold tile, humid air, like the building had aged overnight. Naoya and Ayaka moved through the darkness with care. Only the soft blue light from his phone illuminated their path, and even that flickered sometimes, whenever they passed a mirror, or a window, or a locker that groaned softly as they passed. Their destination? The basement. The door was open now, completely. No lock, no chain, just waiting. But Naoya stopped one floor above. He had to be sure. He turned to the wall next to the music room, where weeks earlier someone had carved a face. Now there were 7, etched into the wall in raw, deep scratches, eyes wide, mouths open, all the same expression, "Remember me." Ayaka grabbed his sleeve. She listened. She whispered. He froze. Far below, coming from the basement, music was playing. Faint, distorted, but familiar. The school anthem, played in reverse. Not a recording, live, on a piano, one note at a time, off-key, each strike echoing up the stairwell like a funeral bell. They descended, step by step. The air grew thicker, heavier. The lights flickered dimly above them, then gave out completely. Naoya switched to his flashlight. Its beam caught the bottom of the stairwell and the thick metal door, now wide open. The art room. Inside, nothing had changed, and yet everything had. The sculptures stood where they always had, still, silent, terrified. But there were more now, many more, dozens of them. Some Naoya recognized, Others he didn't. Some were only partially finished, faces frozen mid-expression, as if the clay hadn't yet decided what emotion they were meant to wear. At the back of the room, a piano sat in the shadows, its keys crusted in dried clay. And behind it, seated, Misaki. Ayaka stopped cold. Naoya didn't. He stepped forward, heart hammering. Misaki didn't move, but she was real, not a vision, not a glitch. Her soaked sailor uniform clung to her body, her skin pale, lips blue, her hair dripping onto the floor, forming a muddy puddle beneath the bench. And her hands, still pressing the keys, playing the melody, one reverse note at a time. When she noticed him, she didn't scream. She simply stopped, turned, and smiled. A tired, broken smile. As if she'd been waiting, not just for someone to come, but for someone to listen. Naoya opened his mouth, but no words came out. Not fear, not awe, just silence. Misaki stood slowly, her joints creaking like old wood. She stepped toward him and whispered, not in his ears, but inside his mind. "You kept watching. You heard me. Now they will too." The sculptures around them began to shake. Cracks formed, mouths opened wider. Some whispered, some moaned, some just stared unmoving, as if pleading for release. Ayaka grabbed his sleeve. Naoya held up the yearbook. "I found you. I remember your name." He opened it to the torn-out page. She stared at it, then reached out and touched the blank space where her photo should have been. The clay beneath their feet began to soften. The piano bench sunk slightly. The sculptures wept. Then Misaki leaned close, close enough that Naoya could see the water pooling in her eyes. She whispered, "You're the last one who will remember me fully, so I made you permanent." Naoya stepped back. "What do you mean?" She didn't answer, just looked past him, toward the center of the room. He turned and saw it, a pedestal, fresh, newly sculpted, still wet, still forming, and on top, his own face, eyes closed, mouth open in a silent scream, hair perfectly molded, head tilted. It was him. Ayaka screamed. Behind her, the sculptures were closing in, not walking, not moving, just appearing, closer and closer each time she blinked. Whispers rose like wind through dead trees. "You saw her. You filmed her. Now you remember too." Naoya backed away from the sculpture. "No," he said, "this isn't how it ends." He grabbed the sculpture, tried to knock it over. It didn't budge. It was rooted to the floor, to him. Misaki raised her hand, and in a flash, everything stopped. Stillness, silence. Then her voice echoed once more, from every wall, every sculpture, every fragment of shattered clay. "You opened the door with a song. You remembered what they erased. Now I live in their memory, and you will live in mine." And then everything went dark.
Silence. Heavy. Wet. Total. When Naoya opened his eyes, the room was gone. Or rather, changed. No longer the broken, haunted art basement. Now it was something deeper, something
buried. The walls were darker, older, stone, not concrete. Cracks veined through every surface like the lines of a forgotten face. And the air, it didn't feel like air at all. It felt like clay dust. Naoya sat on the floor. His flashlight was gone. His phone was gone. But somehow, everything still glowed with an unnatural light, dim, gray, and sourceless. He stood slowly, his limbs stiff and heavy, as if he were made of the same material as the statues, as if he were slowly becoming one. Around him were rows of wooden desks, rotted, sunken, scorched at the edges. A chalkboard stretched across the far wall, its surface scratched beyond recognition. And carved into the board, in what looked like fingernail marks, "Remember me." He had seen this place before, in the glitched videos, in the nightmares, in the fragments Misaki had shown him. The classroom from before the fire, the classroom where she had died. He walked between the desks. Each one had something left behind: a broken brush, a scorched canvas, a half-finished sculpture, its eyes carved out. Some desks had names etched into them, and some had been scraped away, forgotten. At the front of the room, near the old teacher's desk, sat something wrapped in a blue cloth. He pulled it away. A small statue, a bust of a girl. Her eyes wide, her mouth stitched shut with wire, her hair clumped to one side. Her name tag, rusted but still legible, Remiki Erai, Year 2, Sculpture Elective. He touched the statue, and her voice returned, not through sound, but through the walls themselves. They sealed me here, not with chains, but with memory. They said it was my fault. They called it an accident, but they watched me burn, and then they forgot. The chalkboard began to bleed, not with blood, with ink, with names, lines of them, dozens, students who had vanished, all now part of the class. And at the bottom, 2 more names being slowly written: Naoya Tanaka and Ayaka Shimizu. Naoya staggered back. He wasn't just a visitor. He was being enrolled, trapped, like the others. Suddenly, he heard a distant sound, a voice, not Misaki's, a girl's voice, calling his name. Ayaka? He turned, heart racing. Through the warped glass of the classroom door, her face, pale, afraid, but real. She was outside, still in the real basement, trying to pull him back. He ran to the door, but it wouldn't open. He banged on it, shouted. Ayaka screamed something, muffled through the glass, and behind her, he saw them, the statues, moving, not walking, but shifting, flickering closer, frame by frame, as if reality itself was buffering. Then Misaki's voice again, all around him. You don't leave this place with your body. You leave with your memory. That's why they erased me. That's why they're next. Naoya slammed his fist against the door. No, he shouted. This ends with me. You said I remembered you. You did. So now I remember you. The classroom trembled. Cracks raced across the walls. The ceiling above groaned as if something massive were shifting above it. And then a scream. Not Misaki's, Ayaka's. She was being pulled back, away from the door. Naoya saw her arm vanish into the dark, then her shoulder, then her face, her mouth still open, crying his name, until there was nothing. He collapsed to his knees. The chalkboard erupted in a burst of static, like a television stuck between channels. But instead of white noise, it showed him, seated at the desk, sculpting something, slowly, carefully, a statue that looked just like Misaki. And beside him Students, all of them, their hands molding clay, their eyes blank, each sculpting the person who remembered them last. And that's when he realized this wasn't a classroom. It was a memory machine, a place where the forgotten are reformed in the minds of those who refuse to forget. He looked at his hands. They were turning gray, dusty, flaking, clay. He screamed. The chalkboard shattered in a burst of ash, and Misaki stepped through the storm, now glowing, now fully formed, beautiful and broken. Her eyes filled with sorrow and something else, release. She touched his shoulder and whispered, "Thank you for remembering me, but you don't have to stay. You brought me back. That's enough." The light collapsed inward. The walls fell into smoke. The sound of a reversed anthem played one last time, and the world faded to black. When Naoya woke up, he was on the floor of the school's basement, real, alive, covered in clay dust, breathing, and next to him, Ayaka, unconscious, but slowly stirring. He sat up, looked around. The sculptures were gone, the piano gone, the entire room was empty, except for one thing, an old yearbook, opened to the page that used to be torn, and there was Misaki's photo.
The world felt wrong when Naoya woke up. Colors seemed dulled, sound distant, like reality had been stretched too thin. He was lying on the cold basement floor, dust in his lungs, fingertips trembling. His flashlight lay shattered beside him. The classroom, the twisted one buried beneath memory, was gone. Now it was just a room again, empty, dark, dry. Ayaka sat slumped against the wall nearby, blinking slowly like someone pulled from the bottom of a long, silent dream. "You're okay," Naoya whispered, his voice raw. She nodded, barely. But she was here. She was real. The basement no longer buzzed with voices. No more whispers in the clay. No more statues watching from the shadows. Only silence. And at the center of the room, one pedestal remained. Upon it, a bust. Not of Misaki, not of Naoya, not of anyone they recognized. It was unfinished, cracked, the face blurred as if sculpted by a shaking hand. Ayaka stood and approached it. There was no nameplate, only a word carved into the base: fear. Naoya reached into his bag, pulled out the yearbook again. The page was no longer missing. Misaki's photo had returned, grayscale like all the others, but real. She looked straight into the camera, expression neutral, hair wet, eyes hollow, but she was there, as if she'd never been erased. Ayaka exhaled slowly. "She's at peace?" Naoya didn't answer, because he didn't know. Peace wasn't the right word. Not after what he'd seen, what she showed him that night beneath the school. They climbed the stairs back to the main floor. No alarms, no lights, just quiet halls and the weight of dawn pressing through the windows. The school felt lighter, but heavier too, as if something had left, but left its echo behind. The next day, students acted normal. No one mentioned the sculptures. No one asked where Naoya or Ayaka had been. The teachers didn't mention the basement at all. It was like nothing happened. But something had. Because Naoya's phone, it still glitched at 3:33 a.m. Not every night, not always loud, but sometimes, just for a second, a flicker, a sound, a familiar voice saying, "Still watching?"
He stopped uploading to TikTok, deleted the app, reset his phone. It didn't matter. The videos kept posting anyway. Short ones, silent ones, some only a second long, some just black screens with the caption, "She remembers." And others showed statues forming again, not in the basement, but in other schools, in other cities, from other accounts. Misaki had become a seed, a story, a ritual that needed only one thing to bloom: someone to remember her. Naoya started researching again, not to stop her, but to understand. Because he realized something terrifying. The sculptures weren't meant to imprison, they were meant to preserve. Not to trap the forgotten, but to make sure no one ever fully disappeared. Misaki hadn't been haunting the school, she had been haunting the idea of forgetting. And what terrified him most was the truth she showed him that night beneath the school, the one he still couldn't speak aloud. Because somewhere deep in the old classroom, in that chalkboard of lost names, he had seen a name etched before all others, one he had somehow recognized, a name not of a student, not even of a teacher, but someone far older, far earlier. And beneath that name, a message. Memory is clay. It takes the shape of what we fear to forget. Later that week, Naoya returned to the basement one last time. He wasn't sure why. Curiosity, maybe, or obligation. He brought nothing with him, no tools, no cameras, just himself. But when he reached the base of the stairs, something was waiting for him. A sculpture, newly made, not on a pedestal, but seated on the floor, like a student waiting for class to begin. It was Ayaka, perfectly formed, but her expression was calm, at peace. He turned, startled, and saw her, the real Ayaka, standing behind him, wide-eyed. "I didn't make that," she whispered. Naoya nodded. "I don't think it was meant for you." They stood in silence for a long time. Then Ayaka turned to him. "She's not done, is she?" "No," Naoya said softly. "She's just begun." That night, his phone buzzed again, but there was no voicemail, just a notification. Live, now, at Misaki 333. He clicked. The screen was black, then glitched, then showed a dark hallway. Sculptures lined the walls, screams looped in reverse, and somewhere, far down the corridor, she stood, still soaked, still smiling, still waiting. They used to say ghosts linger because of regret, that they're echoes of pain, trapped between what was and what could have been. But Naoya had learned something else. Some ghosts linger not because they want to stay, but because the world won't let them leave until someone remembers. It began with a whisper, not at 3:33 this time, earlier, just past midnight. He was lying in bed, half asleep, when his phone screen lit up on its own. No caller ID, no vibration, just a quiet voice spilling from the speaker. "Do you know what they did, Naoya? Do you know what this place was before it became a school?" He sat up slowly, the glow of the screen painting his walls in static shadows. She continued, "This building used to be a shrine, where memory was a sacred offering. When someone died, the village sculpted their face from clay, not to worship, not to grieve,
but to remember, to keep the soul from disappearing. A pause. Then, but memory fades, even in clay, and I was buried before my sculpture was finished. Naoya felt cold all over. His fingers moved without thinking, pulling up old property records online. And there it was, buried in the archives. The land his school was built on once held a rural temple, destroyed in a fire in 1956. No survivors, only a single object recovered from the ashes. A clay statue, mouth open, eyes missing. The ritual wasn't new. Misaki hadn't created it. She'd been claimed by it, caught in something older than the school, older than Tokyo, older than understanding. The next day, Naoya shared what he found with Ayaka. They sat together in the library, whispers low, the hum of fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like the world itself was listening. Ayaka stared at the printed documents. "Is that why she used the clay?" she asked. Naoya nodded. She wasn't trying to scare us. She was trying to finish the ritual. Ayaka traced the photo of the scorched statue with her fingertip. She said they buried her before it was finished. Naoya's eyes darkened. That means she wasn't supposed to stay this long. She's stuck between being remembered and being erased. She doesn't want revenge. She wants a conclusion. That night, they returned to the basement, not to confront, but to complete. They brought no cameras, no phones, only clay, and the photo from the yearbook. The room was silent, dusty. The floor still bore faint outlines where the sculptures once stood. But the light, what little there was, felt different now, less hostile, more hollow, like a place waiting to be filled. They sat at the center of the room, placed the clay between them, and began to shape her face, together, not rushed, not afraid, piece by piece, guided by memory. Naoya sculpted the hair. Ayaka shaped the eyes. Neither spoke, but both knew what they were doing. This wasn't art, it was a release, a ritual older than belief, carried out by hands that simply understood. By dawn, the bust was finished. It wasn't perfect, it didn't need to be, but it looked like her, and somehow it felt like her. They placed it gently on the old piano bench and waited. The room remained still, no movement, no whisper, just peace. Then the lights flickered once, and for a moment she appeared, not behind them, not in the mirror, but beside the sculpture, sitting, real, solid, eyes clear, hair dry, smile soft. She looked at Naoya, and then at Ayaka, and whispered, "Thank you for finishing me. You remembered the part that matters. Now I can become silence." She reached out, touched the sculpture's cheek, and faded, not violently, not with a scream, but like a breath leaving the body, a sigh of peace. And then she was gone, truly gone. No more 333 voicemails, no more glitches, no more videos posting on their own. Even her name remained, printed firmly in the yearbook, no longer scratched out, no longer ghosted by history. Misaki Arai, student, sculptor, remembered. Naoya didn't feel joy, but he felt quiet, a stillness that had been missing for weeks. And in that stillness, something sacred lingered. The knowledge that sometimes ghosts don't want to haunt us. They just want someone to carry their name, to finish their story, to place the last piece of clay and say, "You exist."
The night after the ritual, Naoya dreamed of silence. Not darkness, not screams, just a silence so deep it felt like falling into water, thick, still, safe. He hadn't realized how loud the world had become until Misaki was finally gone. When he woke up, it was 3:32 a.m. His heart thumped once, then again. And when the minute ticked over to 3:33, his phone stayed dark. No buzz, no voicemail, no static whispers curling through the speaker like smoke. Just silence. And in that silence, he exhaled. The next morning, he walked to school as the sun rose over Tokyo. Everything felt cleaner. The air was cold, the sky streaked with orange. For the first time in weeks, Naoya didn't feel like someone or something was watching from behind every window. The school gates creaked as they opened. He stepped through and noticed something strange. A small group of students had gathered by the main office bulletin board. Some were whispering, others were filming with their phones. Curious, Naoya joined them. Pinned to the corkboard was a printed black and white photo, a scan from the old yearbook, Misaki's class picture. And beneath it, someone had taped a short note, handwritten in pencil. "She existed. Don't forget her again." He looked around. No one claimed credit, but no one tore it down either. For the first time, her face was in public, visible, unapologetic, not hidden in clay or buried beneath a song. Ayaka found him at lunch. She sat beside him, quiet. They didn't speak for a while. Then she said, "She came to me in a dream." Naoya looked up. "She said, 'Thank you.'" He nodded. "She said the others are still watching, the ones who were sculpted before her, the ones still waiting." Naoya didn't speak. He remembered the chalkboard in that underground classroom, the dozens, maybe hundreds of names carved into memory. Not all of them had been Misaki's victims. Some were just forgotten, erased by time, by silence, by neglect. That night, Naoya stayed up late, not waiting, not afraid, just thinking. And at 3:33 a.m., he opened his phone, not out of fear, but choice. No message came through. But when he opened his camera, it glitched, just for a second, then flickered back. Nothing appeared in the frame, but when he looked closer at the lens, there was a faint fingerprint, just one, pressed gently on the glass. He didn't wipe it off. He left it there. The next day, the school installed a new security system, new cameras, new locks, new doors. They sealed off the basement again, concrete poured where the stairs once began. The art room was relocated, and the faculty said nothing. No announcements, no warnings, just quiet erasure, as if the haunting never happened. But students still whispered about the glitchy videos, about the girl in the soaked uniform, about the faces in the clay. Some dismissed it as a TikTok hoax, a viral stunt, but others saw more. They talked about how they too began receiving strange calls, flickering voicemails, music at night. They said if you watched the right video at the wrong time, you'd see her, still smiling, still sculpting, still waiting. Naoya stopped posting online.
He deleted his old accounts, but someone else reposted his original video, the one with the reflection, the one with the whisper. "Tell them I'm still in the basement." Only now, there was a new final frame, one he hadn't filmed, a still image. Naoya, sitting in the dark, his mouth open in a silent scream, and behind him, Misaki, her hand on his shoulder, smiling. But that's not what disturbed him most. What disturbed him most was the caption, "This isn't the end, it's the echo." At 3:33 a.m., one final voicemail came through. Just once, just for him. No static, no distortion, just her voice, clear, calm, at peace. "You remembered me. Now I'll remember you. Good night." Then the screen went black, and stayed black forever.
Naoya never posted another video. Not after the last voicemail. Not after her voice said, "Good night." He deleted his channel, erased every clip, scrubbed his cloud. He even replaced his phone. And for a while, it worked. For a while, the haunting stopped. But the views didn't. Because someone had downloaded the videos, ripped them, reposted them, over and over. On different platforms, different accounts, different names. Misaki's face kept surfacing. Her whisper kept returning. TikTok called it a viral mystery. Commentators dissected the clips like puzzles, frame by frame. Conspiracy threads bloomed on Reddit. Ghost hunters claimed she was an AI-generated hoax. Others said she was a marketing stunt gone wrong. But the ones who really watched, they knew. Because the rules were always the same. If you watched at 3:33 a.m., with your brightness turned low and your headphones in, she would whisper to you, "You filmed me. Now you'll remember me." And if you replied in the comments, she replied back. Naoya started seeing the stories online, users reporting weird phenomena after watching. My phone started recording by itself. I woke up with clay under my nails. I keep hearing that song in reverse in my dreams. She sent me a DM. It disappeared after I read it. My mirror cracked at 3:33. Some deleted their accounts. Others doubled down, chasing the mystery. One streamer dared to react to the full compilation. He didn't finish it. He went silent midstream. His last words before the camera cut were, "She's behind me, isn't she?" The clip was viewed over 6 million times, and in every repost, the background warped more. Her face moved differently. Her expression changed per viewer, as if she wasn't inside the video, as if she was inside the feed itself. The story had escaped the basement, escaped the school, escaped even Naoya's memory. Now it belonged to the network, a ghost viral by design, reconstructed by attention, fed by curiosity, made stronger by every view. Ayaka called him one evening. Her voice was shaky. "It's spreading," she said. He already knew. "I didn't post anything. I swear, I didn't, but..." Naoya waited. She exhaled. "I checked my gallery. There's a new video. I'm asleep in it, and she's standing at the foot of my bed." Naoya closed his eyes. "She's not haunting us anymore," he said. "She's haunting the internet." That night, he searched for Misaki's name online, just to see, and found something new. A website,
Plain, white background, black text. No images, only a single line typed in the center. She existed. And underneath, play the anthem. Remember her. Pass it on. No IP address, no hosting info, no way to trace who built it. But when Naoya clicked the text, the screen darkened, and the reversed school song played, softly, unstoppably, even after he closed the tab. The next day, an article was published in a local blog. Japanese TikTok ghost rumor turns global ritual, the case of Misaki Arai. It tracked the story back to Naoya's original account, back to the glitch, back to the whisper. But it ended with a chilling quote from a paranormal folklorist. In ancient Shinto practices, kami, or spirits, could be born not just from nature, but from memory, from story. If enough people believed, enough people feared, enough people remembered, the spirit would become real, not in flesh, but in consequence. And Misaki was nothing if not consequence. Naoya knew then she didn't need him anymore. She didn't need the school. She didn't even need the sculpture. Now she lived in attention, in repetition, in the looping 10-second video, in the reverse anthem remix, in the comments section whispering, "Did anyone else hear that?" At 3:33 a.m., his new phone buzzed. It wasn't from her, not directly. It was a push notification from a random horror content account. Top 5 internet ghosts that might be real. Thumbnail: a grainy screenshot of his bedroom window, and in the reflection, her face. Naoya stared at it for a long time. Then, for the first time in weeks, he smiled, not because he was safe, but because he understood. Misaki was never asking to be avenged. She was asking to be seen, to be heard, to be believed. And now she had the one thing no ghost in history had ever truly possessed: a platform. It always starts the same way. A late-night scroll, a recommended video, a curiosity click. Someone laughs, someone comments, "This isn't real." And then, the camera glitches, just for a second, long enough for them to see her. Some say it's a trick, compression errors, filters, a viral hoax. But others, they know better. Because when the screen flickers at 3:33 a.m., they feel it. The chill in the room, the fog on the mirror, the breath behind their neck, and always that voice. "You filmed me. Now you'll remember me forever." Misaki Arai became a myth in the age of memory. Not oral tradition, not legend passed by candlelight, but data, echoes, clicks, views. She doesn't haunt buildings anymore. She haunts screens. Every time her name is searched, every time her video is stitched, every time someone re-watches that TikTok just to double-check, she grows stronger. Not evil, not vengeful, just present, unwilling to be erased again. Naoya doesn't hear from her anymore, not directly. No more voicemails, no more clay on his doorstep. But sometimes, when he walks past certain windows at night, he catches her in the reflection. Not behind him, just beside, watching quietly. He doesn't flinch. He nods, because he understands. She was never the curse. She was the warning of what happens when we forget, when we bury people beneath silence, when we write history and leave certain names out. Ayaka now runs a small online archive. She collects stories from people all over the world who've seen her. Some are clearly made up, some are terrifyingly specific, but all of them feel the same. Like echoes, like pieces of Misaki refracted through fear and fascination. Ayaka calls the project Digital Offerings, and at the top of the page, a single line greets every visitor. Do not scroll past the forgotten. Somewhere in Brazil, a boy dreams of a girl with white eyes standing at his classroom door. In Berlin, a teenager's phone rings at 3:33 a.m. and plays a song he's never heard before, but it feels familiar. In Indonesia, a group of students find a bust buried behind their school. No one knows how it got there. The face is blank, but etched beneath it, she remembers. Misaki's name has been hashtagged over 12 million times. Her video reposted on platforms she never lived to see. She has no grave, no obituary, no official school record, but she has what no ritual ever guaranteed her. She is remembered, and in that remembering, she smiles. Some nights at 3:33, the lights in the hallway flicker. Some nights, the algorithm recommends the same 12-second clip. Some nights, when you're scrolling in the dark, you'll pause, you'll look closer, and in the reflection on your screen, you'll see her, just for a second, standing behind you, tilting her head and whispering, "Tell them I'm still here."